Hello, I'm Dr. Elena Draghici-Vasilescu and I work for the Faculty of History and Wolfson College, University of Oxford. This is a recording made for an workshop on Byzantine iconography, which I organized in Wolfson in November 2021. But this recording is not made under their auspices. I need to say this because I don't know if my colleagues share my ideas. If they do, they can tell me. The main question we needed to answer during the workshop was thus: was Byzantine art realistic?
It is possible that because of some stereotypes that circulate in connection to Byzantine art, one could expect to see in a workshop dedicated to it only images like those in figure 1, with figures abstract, almost rigid. But actually one can see many as those in figure 2, looking quite realistic, and that quite early in the history of Byzantine iconography, as early as the 6th century. We can see here some realism, I would say, but I don't want to suggest the answer to the end of the question of the workshop. It is possible that some of the participants to this workshop believe that Byzantium produced exclusively religious art, but that is not true. So this is the second possible preconception. It is not true, and to prove this, among other works, I can mention that written by Henry and Eunice Maguire. So they wrote a book about other kinds than religious images in the Byzantine Empire. The book is called Other Icons, Art Empowering Byzantine Secular Culture, and it was published by Princeton in 2007. For the moment, we concentrate on a description of the stages of the development of Byzantine art, and after going through the material presented today, we ask ourselves if we can speak about the art of the Byzantine Empire as being realistic. If we answer yes to this, then we have to explain in which way, in which sense it is so. Within the literature in the field of Byzantine studies, usually 3 or 4 phases are mentioned concerning the development of the Byzantine art and architecture. I have added one myself to those, and now we have the following list. The early period, 313-843 AD, characterized by a multitude of styles, because the artists were in search of their artistic identity. The Macedonian stage, 843 to 1018, was characterized by monumentality. C, Comnenian art, 1018 to 1204, shows some emotions on the faces of the person depicted. One can speak about humanization of the Byzantine art. I have written about this in my book, Between Tradition and Modernity. Paleologan period, 1204-1453. So as we can see, it lasted from the Fourth Crusade to the fall of Constantinople to the Ottoman Turks in 1453. In this period, some mannerism is noticeable in art. The last stage, which is still going, is the Meta-Byzantine or Neo-Byzantine stage of development. It is characterized by a multitude of coexisting artistic styles. This is my contribution to this classification. As observed, some specific features are attributed to each stage of this process, but it is important to mention that none of them was pure. To a certain extent, each of them displays some features in parallel. For instance, it is no doubt that during the Macedonian phase, not only monumental creation, but also some smaller in size existed. Also, the symbolism that is peculiar to Byzantine art is noticeable in all its stages of development. Here is a presentation of each stage of artistic development in Byzantium in some detail and with images. The early Byzantine art commenced with the transfer of the imperial seat from Rome to Constantinople and the Edict of Milan in February 313. This phase covers the iconoclastic debate and extends to
843.
We have some figures from that period here. This is early art, and I'm glad to say that this summer I managed to go to Ravenna, which has mosaics from the 5th, 6th centuries, and I brought some new photographs to Oxford. And the modest of me here, but I wanted to show that it's authentic. I really went there, so I wanted to show that, to prove that. In Ravenna, I found not only what we usually know about the iconography there. There are some kind of classical images, so everyone knows about them, but there is now a new gallery discovered, opened in 2003, and it has a considerable quantity of mosaic there, and some unique iconographical motifs like this, but this, especially this one, I haven't seen this representation before. So I'm showing different types of art from that period. So even books survived, have been very well preserved. The middle or high period of Byzantine art, the Macedonian stage of artistic development, begins with the restoration of the icons in 843 and culminates with the conquest of Jerusalem by the Crusaders in
1018.
The period is called Macedonian because just 4 years after the Council of 843, which legitimized the use of religious images, the Emperor Basil called the Macedonian acceded to the throne, and the art made during his period is sometimes called Macedonian Renaissance. So we can see why. You can see here how skillful the art was. The Macedonian stage of iconography ends with the reign of Alexios Comnenos. The Comnenian art between
1018, 1204.
The works of art of this period begin to allow the emotions to be reflected on the face of the character depicted, as I mentioned earlier. So we can see here in the apse, we can see on the face of Mary the Paleologan art
1204.
in 1453 is characterized by a certain mannerism. If you see, the faces here are very calm and not nothing very passionate about any representation here. Nevertheless, the most important, another important feature is eclectic osmosis between traditional Byzantine and Western European elements in art and architecture. And something maybe the most remarkable artistic achievement of the Paleologan period still extant is the Church of the Savior in Kora in Constantinople. Now, Istanbul. Theodor Metochites, Byzantine statesman, commissioned the execution of the decoration within this building. That work was carried out between 1315 and 1321. Gradually, Byzantine art gave way to detailed cycles of narrative frescoes, as evidenced in many churches in Mistra. So now we had, after seeing these two images from Kora, we'll have one from Mistra, where we have narrative icons, and as you can see, very long narrations in color on the walls. Maybe surprising. That is my own contribution. I hope I'm right. I could say that the Paleologan period has a corresponding stage in the art of the British Isles. For example, this is the case with the decoration in Dorchester Church, which later became an abbey. This was the seat of the bishopric from 633 AD, when Pope Honorius the First has sent the first bishops of the district. The first bishop was Birinius, and he was here until 1085, when the Mercian see from Dorchester was transferred to Lincoln. So this, the fresco here on the wall, it looks very much like, I would say, that is my opinion, I might be wrong, but looks close enough to this, from what we see here. And you see the pigments are similar. I've seen this fresco in Dorchester, it's not very far from Oxford, and I could see even the pigments are similar. Henry VIII made it to be the colors and the images to be whitewashed, but now they are gradually being cleaned. I think there are more under the whitewash. So this is what we can see at the moment. And I think they look like in the Paleologan Byzantium. And I'm sure that it was some circulation between the Mediterranean, not only in terms of bishops like clerics, but also masters, icon painting masters, fresco painters. Now I'll show some images from the 5th stage, which I call Neo-Byzantine. and churches call it Meta-Byzantine. So this we can see that the figures follow the Byzantine forms, and certainly somebody neutral, but with some information about Byzantine art will know, will recognize it as being in that Byzantine tradition. And the colors are a bit intense. I think some of them have some chemicals in that within, but I know for sure that the icon painters today still use traditional pigments. I saw them doing that. And here is how one work of Byzantine tradition is made today and has always been made. The Byzantine art is realistic. Thank you. We have to discuss about this now and maybe also later, another workshop.